explain a little bit how to build the whole foreshortening thing. Give me a situation, a character doing an action that may involve some foreshortening, at least in your head.
Like kicking at somebody?
Kicking at somebody? Okay. That sounds good. Okay, so let's pretend that this is our panel. See it? Okay. Put it right there. Okay. So, okay, tell me what would you choose? Would you choose the point of view of the guy that is being kicked, or actually the main character who's kicking the other dude?
Maybe like point of impact, like foot hitting head recoiling.
Okay. Let's do the two samples, and let's do like the two, or at least two of the possible actual scenes that you can draw. You can really just draw the face, big fit over here, just kicking the guy in the face. Not this way. You can do this straight forward shot of it, where you see everything. This is basically the same thing. Like, this is your situation. There's a guy being kicked, you see the leg, the point of impact. Great, it works, it's there. But it doesn't have that sense of action. It's just a straightforward shot of a guy kicking someone else. Now, let's do that more interesting. You want the point of impact. Okay, let's have, and basically keeping the same elements in the same kind of composition. So I'm gonna keep this guy in this side of the panel, the leg here, but let's change the point of view a little bit, and let's turn the camera a little bit behind him. Why? Because we want to create that depth. So you have his face in the foreground. You have him here. So if you have the face here, structure thing, then you know that this face is, the head is at least, we're seeing a little bit of the top of the head, so you build everything according to it. You have this guy, face expression, his face coming towards us, kind of like seen from behind the character. This is your foreground element, okay? So make sure you do that after you have the composition, but you make sure that your line weighs accordingly. So this is the thickest thing, because it's the thing closer to the camera. Closer to the camera. Now you want to show that leg, or that feet, hitting this guy. So you show the downside of the shoe. Put some texture, the shoe, what's the word I'm looking for again? The bottom of the shoe?
The sole.
Sole, thank you. See, I told you I was going to need help at some point. So you see this here, and now you know that he's been kicked in the face. It has some spin and some blood or teeth or something. So you have that over here. Then you want to show that leg. Where's that leg coming from? This is basically the calf. This is basically the knee, the thigh. Again, elements, so there's just overlapping. So you see all of this kind of come towards this guy. You show a little bit of the top of the shoe here. You show this line, you show the knee here. You know what this is coming from. You want to show maybe the other character, so you draw a torso over here. This is a secondary character. This is his face. Then, okay, so you're throwing a kick. Your arm should be doing something. It's not like, just your hands like down unless you, I don't know. But anyway, so you draw another plane, and is this other dude's arm kind of covering his face, making a fist. And then the other arm right here. Basically, you see how I'm trying to use every element to kind of frame the other element. So you have this and this framing this guy's face. So now you see who's kicking him. Let's make it that long here. So you have these two elements framing the face of the attacker. You have the torso, you have the line of action of this guy, then you have the leg coming towards you, the sole of the shoe, the guy being kicked. And then you can center your attention in the point of impact that is right in the middle of the composition, and it's basically this guy's face as is being, break his jaw a little bit, I don't know. But you're basically creating all of that in just a second. And again, using planes, using elements to frame other elements, and creating a more dynamic composition than this one that is just a guy being kicked in the face. So, okay, give me an environment, a place. Give me something, somewhere to draw someone.
Egypt.
Egypt, okay, the Batcave. No, not Egypt. But anyway, okay. You want an outdoor or an indoor?
Outdoor.
Outdoor? No. Okay. Do something not giving me too much to work, but I like the challenge. Okay, so give me a character or characters doing an action in Egypt. See why I told you to
Pulling up a medallion out of the sand.
Pulling that. Okay, good. I like this. Okay. Again, let's try this composition. This is the type of scenery that I actually like, just because like there's nothing straight, like everything can be curves, so you can kind of like create a flow. So okay, so we have sand dunes or the desert. So you create this. So I'm pulling out here the camera because I want to make this all about the environment, all about using elements in the environment to actually show a scene. So pulling out a medallion is something very difficult because basically this is the size of my character. It's not going to be about like just putting the medallion in the foreground element. What do? I create all these lines that are basically going to the center. I can even have like some clouds coming down here. Basically every line is trying to pull you here. Why am I doing here? This element here, think that you have another panel here and this is your page. You want the reader is coming this way. When they hit this panel, all of their attention is going this way, right? Because of all these lines. But then you have this line here. What it's doing is creating a diagonal that is actually going to direct the line, the eye right next to the next panel, which is this, maybe this panel over here, or a big panel down here. But it's basically cutting the eye cutting the flow of the eye and directing them back here. So you have the character. So how do you want to make sure that people know that he just did something that is like the action is very small. It's not as big as I don't know, jumping or running or anything. Like it's just pulling out a medallion. What I do is like by creating this element, I just frame this character, and I can use the clouds to also frame them. And then by pulling the guy's arm up and showing this, then you know that this action is kind of what's important. So I can even have like secondary characters over here, just kind of directing by the line of action everything to this point, which is the medallion. So in that way, and what you can do is Egypt. So it's not just any desert. So let's have pyramids because that's what Egypt is in the mind of everyone. So that way also creating framing elements. What you can do also is, if you want to create more stuff to actually build this scene up a little bit, you can create ruins here that are actually directing again your eye to the characters, to the main action. So you create a couple of elements here that are actually just directing everything to this, and in composition with the whole page is taking you from here down here to the next panel. So, and again, what did I use? Just different planes, just 3 planes. Foreground with this 2, middle ground here, background with this one's over here. And then, again, that's what kind of do. And the important thing is also like about the story. Again, I can reinforce this more. You're not trying to just draw pretty pictures, you're trying to tell a story. So you have to use every element that you can to create that story. Any other question? Okay. Any other thing that you want to see how kind of like foreshorten, draw up, guy, perspective, downshot, upshot? No?
How would you incorporate this to do a page layout?
Oh, like a page layout? Okay.
Is there a warrior concern that you need a dominant pane with more extreme use of panes and perspective.
I mean, okay, so let's try this. Let's go with this same situation. We have a group of people in the desert trying to find this medallion in the ruins. Let's say we have 5 panels for this page. What do? You do what I would do actually, is one big panel where you want to set the scene. You want to tell where these people are, you want to tell kind of like the environment they're in. This is how you want to introduce the story. You can introduce also the story from a detail and then pull back, depending on how you want to tell the story. But I want to do a straightforward one-page story about this guy finding the medallion. So I kind of think it in this way. I know what is my first image because I want to just set the scene. So it's an establishing shot, okay? So we have the establishing shot. And then I know what my last image is, a close-up of the medallion. I want that to be my payoff in this page. I want you to see what the hell this guy found in the ruins. So what I would do is I have 2 of the 5 panels. I have 3 panels. I have 3 more panels to play with. I do like, I usually my layout of the page, I do like more, you know, kind of normal, regular compositions. I don't go too crazy with the panels. I like people to kind of take a look at what's inside the panel more than being distracted by the shape of the panel. I use it just when it's needed. So let's assume that we have, I'm gonna leave the 4th panel open, so it's basically a previous shot of the big payoff. And the big payoff, that's the one I've decided to go crazy with the panel shape. So we know it's Egypt, we know it's a desert. We kind of follow the whole thing. The desert, basically, big horizon. You want to show that it's a big nothing. So I go as straight as I can, just incorporating some lines, some curves to kind of create a more dynamic thing. Again, we can play with the pyramids over here, we can play with some clouds over here, and then we'll leave this middle space kind of here to put our characters. So it can be just a detail, it can be a tent, it can be like you can show a little bit of the ruins that they're actually trying to, or they're digging in. So, you know, but I don't want you to go as close this right now. You can add some elements in the foreground here, here, and here, kind of to create that plane, that depth. Then you go a little bit closer. Let's say we go close to the characters now. We want to know what they're doing. I put one character in the foreground, kind of like looking down, you know, where he's doing something. Just do the typical archaeological type of thing. So you have one guy here, then you have another guy here, kind of looking down at what he's doing. You have a third character here, and then you could even have the tent right around here. You know he's kneeling down, you can see kind of like everyone standing like on top of him. This guy is, I don't know, removing the sweat from his forehead. This guy is like, oh my god. So you kind of have all these characters just looking down at this point, creating this V of a composition. But again, you have the foreground element, you have the middle ground element, you have the background element. You can even add some clouds here. Now, what I want to do is maybe pull closer to the thing. You want to show this guy who was looking down, kind of his reaction. For this one, I go straight. I don't use any. I don't use as much planes. I don't use foreshortening. I don't use anything. Like for this one, I did a little bit of foreshortening because we're doing kind of an upshot of this guy kneeling down. But again, this one, I go extremely flat. I just want to see his expression. That's what's important about it. So you see this guy with his head and his face. What he's doing. It's like, oh my god. So he's surprised about it. What you do from now is I can even copy this same scene in the sense of I pull out the camera in a way that I create this foreground elements, and I do what I did kind of like with that picture I showed you of the underwater scene. Like this panel is actually overlapping everything. Like you can even, I wouldn't recommend it, but it can even overlap this panel, just because in the sense of like, this would, like if you overlap, you take this panel and overlap this panel, then people are gonna skip this area over here. But you could even do it just because this whole composition becomes one big thing. This is because what I'm doing is I'm kind of pacing it in a way that I slow down here by showing maybe the silhouettes of the guy. Just,
Scoot your book up.
oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. By just showing like the silhouettes of the guys here, being framed kind of what I did before with elements of like a ruin here and some sand dunes over here. You can still have the tent over here. You have the pyramids kind of like to this side. The thing, the clouds, basically everything trying to just, oh, he did something. He found something in this hole that they were digging. And then what I do now is just make a close up for the final shot of this guy's hand. And if you want to make it a little bit more dramatic, you could even do it, in fact, let's do it that way. I think it's a little bit more fun. You could even have the medallion being this big foreground element, and then build from it, as in the hand of the guy holding the medallion. I don't know, it's the medallion of death. Cool. An evil scroll. There you go. So you have the hand of the guy, then you have the forehand of the guy, and since we went with the dramatic, oh my god, I found something kind of pose, you could even have the face of the guy kind of here, like this is the shoulder, this is the arm coming towards us, and you have the expression of the eye. Kind of mess it up a little bit, but you can leave more space. But you can have the face of the guys here, just being amazed by what he found. Like, oh, found it. And you're using foreshortening to kind of like direct everything to the big medallion that is right about here. So that's how I would use it, like in a page layout and kind of like pacing the story. This is just a one-page story about this guy's finding this, but I basically use planes here, foreshortening here. I didn't use anything here. Planes again here, foreshortening here for the big reveal. You need to know when to kind of pace down, and that's something that you're gonna pick up by reading a lot, and like kind of when you start doing your own pages, and then you see how like people are reading it and like how people are actually, you know, like taking every bit of the information. So yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much for listening to me for a while, talking a lot. But I hope you take something out of this, and again, thank you very much for being here. If you have any more questions, if you think any other question, I'm at booth 8844. Feel free to walk by, talk, take a look at, chat, whatever you want to do. But again, thank you very much.
Thank you.